The Milwaukee Bucks are making moves as they have made multiple moves ahead of the regular season starting in just a few days, and their final roster has now been revealed, and the moves they made may surprise you. So stay tuned for that in this episode to break it all down, as well as Khris Middleton. We have a major update on his front as Doc Rivers has come out and revealed some very interesting information surrounding him and his availability ahead of opening night. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, but before we get into it, quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. If you're a part of the percentage that aren't subscribed to the channel, we're super close to 1,000 subscribers. It's been a goal of ours for a very long time. And if you want to help us towards that goal, smash the subscribe button. It would mean the world to myself. But we have a lot to go over today, specifically regarding the moves the Bucks made. And the Milwaukee Bucks are releasing center Ante Pasecnic and converting 7-footer Liam Robbins to a two-way NBA deal, sources tell ESPN. And obviously today's the day where a lot of rosters are being finalized. They have till Monday, but a ton of rosters are being finalized. Tons of moves are happening. And tons of things are going down in Bucks land. And specifically regarding Pasecnic. Now, I made a video on this a while ago, a week or two ago. It's interesting because coming into training camp, we thought that Pasecnic had the advantage to win that final spot because he had already gotten the two-way deal. He was on a two-way NBA contract, so they wouldn't have to make any other moves. They could just keep him in and not make subsequent moves. However, they then signed 7-footer Liam Robbins, like I discussed, a guy who played at Vandy the past couple of years in college, undrafted. And he impressed them in preseason, obviously impressed them in training camp. And now here he is converting his contract to a two-way deal, and he's going to earn that final roster spot for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, obviously, he's on a two-way deal, so he's going to be fluctuating between the Herd and the Bucks. But he outplayed Pasecnic, who, again, has more NBA experience, was a former first-round draft pick, and was also just a guy that coming into this season, or coming into the training camp, coming into the Bucks training camp, was just the guy that, was solid and was going to most likely earn that final spot. But ultimately, Liam Robbins was the one who earned it by playing and outplaying Pasecnic at this point. And it gets very interesting. You see this here, Robbins it is, and Liam Robbins is the guy who's going to get that final, or at least outduel Pasecnic to get that final spot. And what this means going forward is a few different things. Obviously, Liam Robbins doesn't seem to factor into the full, lineup that much. He's not going to be playing a ton of minutes for the Milwaukee Bucks this year. We know how they're starters, and now we can kind of see the final bit of the final rotation. However, there are some moves that are most likely on the horizon, which I have a future video on very soon. But Dame, Gary, Khris, Giannis, and Brook Lopez, we know those are the starters. And Khris, which I have an update on in a little bit here, should be good to go. But DeLon Wright, Taurean Prince, and Bobby Portis. When you're looking at this, you're specifically looking at the 4 and the 5. And Bobby Portis can play the 4, he can play the small ball 5. Brook Lopez is obviously the normal starting center. He's he's our tallest player, 7-footer. Giannis as well can also play the small ball 5, but when you get into a point against teams that have big men, whether that's Joel Embiid, whether that's Nikola Jokic, whether that's really anybody, having a guy like Liam Robbins, when he's able to come up, and of course bearing injuries, who can come in and battle a little bit and just help the guys who are in foul trouble. Again, he's not going to be starting. He's not going to be playing a ton of minutes, maybe even 5 or 10 minutes a game on days that he's up and not playing with the Herd. He can help when there's foul trouble. And there will be between Brook, Giannis, and Bobby. They don't have a solidified backup center. Obviously, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the backup center. Not the backup center. Can play the small ball center, but Brook Lopez is our main center. But the problem is, we've seen it last year, when foul trouble happens and you're playing big teams, having a guy like Liam Robbins, who is a bona fide 7-footer, he's not super buff or anything like that, but that can stretch the floor, similar to Brook Lopez in some ways, will be very helpful. And again, Liam Robbins, he's not going to, be unbelievable or anything like that. He averaged 15, 7, and 1. He can stretch the floor a little bit. We saw him hit a 3 in one of the preseason games. He went 1 for 3 on 3-pointers attempted in the preseason. So there is some upside with this guy. He's 23 years old. He's not super young. He went undrafted, played all 5 years of college. But the biggest thing here is that he can be a guy that can factor into the team when they need him. He's not going to be asked to play a bunch. He can develop. He's still 23 years old. He's only 23. And the Bucks desperately need a homegrown, in this case, they didn't draft him, but they signed him, a homegrown center that can stretch the floor to replace Brook Lopez when he retires or goes away from Milwaukee. Probably more likely go away. He's not going to retire for a little bit. But they can help Bobby Portis if maybe he gets shipped off. Things like that. Now, again, Taurean Prince can also play the backup 4. But having a 7-footer, I liked Liam Robbins. If you watch him in preseason, he didn't have any phenomenal games, but he facilitated well for a center. He passed the ball well for a center. He rebounded solid. And he hit some shots. Like, he didn't blow the cover off of anything. You didn't really notice him out there saying, hey, Liam Robbins had a great game. Like, we saw A.J. Johnson have a great game and then come back out and have a bit of a rough game. But what he's able to do is kind of just be a role player. And that's exactly what the Bucks are looking for at this point. I mean, they're at the point now where they're going for a championship, and they decided to go with Liam Robbins over Pasecnic, over some of the other guys. And I think it makes a ton of sense if you are the Milwaukee Bucks. And again, Some fans out there thought that Pasecnic, deserved the deal and earned the contract. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this specific move. It's a little bit interesting because Pasecnic kind of coming into training camp had the advantage there, but I think ultimately it makes the most sense for them to go with Liam Robbins, especially he showed some good things, and so did Pasecnic, but he showed some better tools, and he's a lot younger, and he can develop and hopefully be the backup center of the future for the Milwaukee Bucks. But as we transition now into something that's a bit more interesting or not a bit more interesting, but very interesting, is Khris Middleton. Now, this just dropped a couple hours ago. Obviously, Khris Middleton, the Bucks are preparing for their debut next week, and Bucks coach Doc Rivers told reporters that Middleton did not do anything more than skill development work he has been doing at today's practice. This was today, but he added there is a chance that they play. He said, quote, "I'm not really concerned. It's a long season. Do I think he'll play in game one? I'm hoping." Still pretty positive there. If he doesn't, does it ruin my year? No. I think he'll be healthy soon. Excuse me. And we'll have him a lot, so I'm not that concerned about it. So this is kind of the way that I'm feeling as well. I mean, at this point, Khris Middleton's availability, based on how everything's going, he's still only doing skill development work rather than actually practicing with the team and doing full contact, full practice. He's probably not going to be ready for opening night. That being said, the most important thing is that he comes back 100% healthy. Obviously, he didn't get in the last couple preseason games, would have helped to maybe develop some skill, but Dame and Giannis weren't really playing those past two games anyway, so there isn't that much, chemistry to be gained there. I think that these guys, specifically Khris Middleton, he's aging now, he's injury prone now, everyone's talking about his injuries. Get him fully healthy and then integrate him into the lineup. You have other guys that you can use in the meantime. You have Gary Trent. You have Taurean Prince for this reason. Taurean Prince will slide into that starting spot, assuming that Khris Middleton is out for opening night. So there's just a lot of ways to go about it. Again, there is still a chance that he plays in the season opener on Wednesday, but he needs to play on 5-on-5 first. They only have a few days now before that happens. And again, things are still fluid at this point. We're going to keep you up to date with all of it. But my prediction is that Khris Middleton does not suit up for opening night. I say he plays in game 2 or 3 after getting some 5-on-5, some full contact work, and just getting things going. But even though the most important thing right now is for him to get 100% healthy, because if he's not healthy this year, the Bucks are going to have a very, very rough time. Obviously, they have Gary Trent, they have Taurean Prince, the two newest additions. I'm excited to see what they do, specifically Gary Trent Jr., who's coming off a bit of a down year. We all know the Bucks, us as Bucks fans, we're happy. We got him on a steal, a veteran minimum. If he can go out and be what he was once with the Portland Trailblazers, what he was with the Raptors a couple years ago, just a tenacious 3-and-D player that can really create on the ball, something that the Bucks at the past lacked a little bit, but now with Dame, they have a lot more of. It'll be very interesting going forward to see what they decide to do with kind of just splitting the duties up, but specifically around preserving Khris Middleton's health. But other than that, everyone else is good to go. Brook Lopez is feeling better than ever. Giannis, Dame, Gary, everybody is good to go. And hopefully, the Milwaukee Bucks can get out there and get it going. And hopefully, Brook Lopez, again, he was dealing with an injury earlier in the year, not feeling better than ever in the sense of healthiness. But as opening night approaches, he will get in the lineup. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this, and make sure to smash that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We'll see you guys soon.